David Sherwack here, and today I'm going to be doing a tutorial on the highly requested GYPSY flip, and this tutorial has been suggested by a bunch of you guys, and it's a really popular trick recently. So if you don't know what GYPSY flip is, here's a video of Bonzatron doing it during freestyle of MKO 2017 first try on stage.
You got about 20 seconds left.
So there it was, he did it first try. It's been a super popular trick recently, so I thought I might as well do a tutorial on it. So here's an example of the trick, the GYPSY flip. Alright, so there was an example of the trick, GYPSY flip. So for that example, I just did inward lunar because that's the way Bonzatron did it, and it seems like that's the most popular way. So I'm just going to be going over how to do it from inward lunar. So before you try this trick, obviously you're going to want to know how to do inward lunar. So be comfortable with those. Like, this part isn't super crucial, knowing how to do an inward lunar flip, but if you do know how to do it, it will definitely help. So be kind of comfortable with inward lunar flip, because after the tug of the GYPSY flip, that's the rotation the Ken's going to be doing when you have to land it back on inward lunar. So let's actually get into this trick now. So first, what you're going to want to do is obviously just pull up into inward lunar. The grip of the tama really doesn't matter. Just hold it like you would do a normal inward lunar. That's what I found, at least. What you're going to do next is you can just let the Ken fall off like that to set up for the tug back onto inward lunar. Or the way that I like doing it more is kind of pushing out like that. So you can either just let the Ken fall off and just let it slide off, and then you do the tug, which will pull it back up to inward lunar. Or you can do the way that most people do it, and it looks a little bit better, where you kind of bring it back, go out, and then pull up. So I suggest this way where you go out, because honestly I find it a bit easier too. So what you're going to do that is just slowly, not a lot of momentum at all, slowly bring the tama out, let the Ken slide off, and it's going to do a little bit of rotation. Usually at around this point, this is where the Ken is going to be, at around this point. So like I said, just practice this, just sliding off like that, so that when the string tightens, I don't know why I said it like that, but when the string tightens, it will be at this area of its rotation like this. So make sure you do that. And once you have this down, that's when you can do the actual tug next. So the tug of the tama, or the string, or the Ken I mean, back up onto inward lunar, is probably the hardest part, because you have to kind of time it perfectly. You don't want to do the tug too early, and you don't want to do it too late. So you don't want to wait too long so that the Ken, obviously the string tightens and then you pull back up with the tama. You kind of want to time it so that you pull as soon as the string is going to tighten. So there's no really way to like explain how to do it perfectly, but it's just a lot of practice. Just get familiar with the timing. So like I said, try and just pull the Ken back up right when the string tightens. So it's going to tighten, and that's when you're going to do the pull-up. Now the pull-up is the next important part, the tug of the string to get the Ken back up. So as this falls forward and kind of around like that, right when the string tightens, that's when you're going to do the pull-up. What you're going to do with the tama is kind of a pull-up like that. So you're going to tug the string with doing a tama motion like that. It's kind of the same motion you do for pulling up to inward lunar, which makes sense because really what you're doing is you're just pulling it back up to inward lunar. So do that same motion. So all in one, it's going to look like you're going to bring it forward, it's going to fall off. Make sure to keep distance between the tama and the Ken so the string can tighten. Do a tug, but remember to pull up like that with the tama. It's kind of hard to explain, you just kind of have to feel around with it. Pull with the tama like that, and what that's going to do is, if you do it right, it's gonna tug the Ken, bring it up, and it's gonna do this rotation. That's when you can spot the big cup and try and land it on Lunar. So for the tug, you don't need to go super hard. Just a nice little light tug will do. That was a bad example right there. But you don't need to go all out. Just go like that. Make sure that you're tugging as straight as possible so that the Ken does a straight rotation. And it's just a nice little light tug like this. So just make sure you're doing a nice little light tug. Try to pull it as straight as you can, so the Ken doesn't do any weird rotations. And when you're practicing it, if you don't feel comfortable with going to Lunar yet, you could just go to Lighthouse. As it flips inward, just land it on Lighthouse, because that can be easier. So just play around with it, make sure to find what feels best for you. Make sure to try and get it pretty steezy. And honestly, you can do the little drop off method, but I honestly can't even do that really. It just makes it seem way harder. I can't even it's hard to get a straight pull up. So I suggest just doing this motion right here and then pulling it up. I literally just learned this trick like a couple days ago, so I'm not the best at it. Bonzatron should probably do a tutorial on it, but yeah, that's it for this trick. Just make sure to remember those key parts of bringing it back, forward, making sure to tug the Ken back up with the same motion you do an inward lunar with, and do it straight so that the Ken does a straight rotation, spot the big cup, land it back on inward lunar, and finish it in whichever way you want. So it's not the hardest trick ever. I learned it in like an hour maybe, so definitely just keep trying. It's just something you have to feel around with, because it's a pretty different trick than lots of tricks, so it's gonna feel weird at first, but it won't take you long to learn it. So yeah, that's it for this tutorial. I don't know if I explained that good at all, but hopefully you kind of explain or understand the trick a little bit better now. Also, just watch lots of people doing it. That's what I had to do to understand it. Just watch people in slow motion doing it, and then that will help definitely. So yeah, that's gonna do it for this tutorial. Make sure to leave your suggestions for next week's tutorial down below, and make sure to subscribe, like the video, and I'll see you guys in the next one. Peace.